Hey everyone, welcome to Module 3. In Module 3, we'll be learning about speech techniques. And Module 3 will be very video heavy, so there will be times where we have to pause the video. You'll go ahead, watch the video, and then come back and we'll discuss it. So, starting off, I'd like for you to watch the video on different examples of speech introductions and then go ahead right into the pacing video as well. Once you're done watching those two videos, you can come on back and then we'll start discussing pacing. Okay, so to better help you understand the concept of pacing, I'm going back to the example that I updated in Module 2. Now, in Module 2, I updated the format of that essay to put it in a way that makes it easier for me to read and remember. But another reason for me doing that is that it helps me with the pacing of my speech. So when I break it down by line, I know that I need to pause at least a little bit before moving on to the next line, and that keeps me at a good pace so that I can not be reading too fast or too slow for the content that I'm delivering. So, just as an example, in an age where Netflix is king and a quick 15-minute break can turn into a 6 hours of watching random videos on social media, it is becoming increasingly rare for people to read books as a primary source of entertainment. Now, as you can see on that last line, I still may added pauses to slow down and keep up with the pacing of it. But the reason I didn't separate that line as compared to the lines above it is that I wanted to keep it together so that I know that my delivery of that line should be the same throughout, and that that line is one source of information that I want to keep together and not really break it up. Next up, I want you to go ahead and look at the timing video as well as the tonality and pause videos and then come back. Okay, welcome back. Now, the reason I wanted you to watch the timing video along with the tonality and pauses videos is that those concepts tend to go hand in hand and are often used together. I'm actually going to show you in this example right here. I went ahead and made some changes. I bolded these two lines because that's a way for me to remember that I want to do something dramatic whenever I deliver these lines, as well as highlight, capitalizing all the letters in Netflix and King. So the way that I would do this would be a change of my tonality or a change within my voice to kind of exaggerate and bring attention to what I'm saying. So, a way that I would read this would be in an age where Netflix is king. Now, you see these dots here? The dots is just a way for me to add a dramatic pause to it, just a reminder in writing that I'm going to do a pause there. So, just again to repeat it, in an age where Netflix is king and a 15-minute break can turn into 6 hours of watching random videos on social media. As you can see, I slowly transitioned away from the bold, exaggerated voice as I was getting into some of the more normal parts of my speech. Just in the beginning, I wanted to capture the listeners' attention, and now that I got their attention, I'm slowly going into the rest of my introductory part of my speech. So, next up is storytelling. Go ahead and pause this lecture to watch the video. Okay, now that you're back, adding stories to your speech can add a personal touch which brings upon an emotional response or connection between your experiences and the experiences of the listener. Most of the time, speakers will use their own past experiences whenever they're telling stories. However, that's not a requirement. You can tell a story about anything, fictitious or not, and as long as it makes a connection to the listener and that it supports what your primary topic is, storytelling could be a great tool to use whenever giving a speech. Rhetorical question. Go ahead and pause the video. Okay. The rhetorical question is used to bring attention to and invoke thought about the question being asked. Rhetorical questions tend to be used whenever you want to bring emphasis to the question, but you aren't prepared to have that full discussion right then and there. You just want people to start thinking about what you're asking as you continue on with your speech. Facial expressions. Go ahead and pause the video. Facial expressions can be an excellent tool to convey meaning without words, exaggerate an emotion, or as a contradictory factor to words being said, which the audience will often trust more, as facial expressions tend to be an honest representation of our actual feelings and emotions. Facial expressions are a great way to really drive in a point that you're trying to make or really exaggerate that topic. It's a great way for audiences to really tell how you're feeling, so they tend to trust that more, what you're saying more when your facial expressions express that you really believe it. Lastly, we have body language. You can go ahead and pause the video. Now, body language, similar to facial expressions, is just a way for you to really communicate or exaggerate or really bring home what you're trying to say to the audience. Your body language can add that extra punch to what you're saying to really get the audience invested and really believe that you're really gung ho about what you're saying. In this example, again, I'll really use an exaggerated tone when reading the bolded areas. And in here, I even added in some highlights as far as what I'm going to do with my body when I read these lines. Normally, I don't actually add this in whenever I'm making my notes for my speech. That's something you can do, especially when you're starting off and you don't know what you want to do with your body. But normally, I would just have the regular portions here, and then I just know in my head that I want to exaggerate or use my hands, or sometimes I just let my body move naturally as I do it, and it's just something you get used to with more practice. But for this example, again, I'd read it exaggeratedly and then do the hand and facial gestures as I read these lines. And that's it for the Module 3 lecture. Next up, you'll be moving on to the Module 3 assignment. In the assignment, I really want you to get used to talking about and using these speech techniques. So, starting off in your own words, I want you to explain what speech skill means in the context of presenting a speech. And then I also want you to explain how you would utilize those speech techniques when writing a speech. So there's some activities in here for you to do with each of the speech skills. Once you're done with the Module 3 assignment, you'll move on to the Module 4 lecture.